And the first piece is kind of, well, I'll just start reading it. It's called My Half-Life. Sometimes I feel as though I'm trapped in a fairy tale called The Wild Swans by Hans Christian Andersen. It's about a young girl, a princess, with 11 brothers and a wicked stepmother. The stepmother is so jealous, she puts a spell on the brothers and turns them into swans. The little princess wants to save her brothers, and the only way to do this is by weaving coats out of nettles, which are very painful to work with and cause her hands to blister. She also must be silent while she is doing the weaving. She keeps silent and weaves until she is almost burned at the stake for being a witch, and at the last minute flings the coats over her brothers, and they all become men again, except for the youngest. Because she hasn't been able to finish, one of his arms remains a swan's wing. In my version of that fairy tale, most of the time I'm the princess, except instead of weaving coats, I'm condemned to write, and at the same time I have to keep silent. Because of this conflict, each word that comes out is associated with pain. That's why I write so little and so sparingly, because each word hurts, and each word has to fight for its own existence. I don't sit here easily. I'm not charmed by my own words. I'm embarrassed. I hate to read them back. They're not mine. They force themselves out of me. They bark at me in my left ear and squeeze themselves out of my fingers. I don't know why it has to be this way, but it is. I must keep silence, and I must write. What will happen if I don't write? Sometimes I feel that the world, which is already spinning out of control, will just erupt in flames. Sometimes I feel that nothing will happen, that I've cast the spell on myself, and if I finally speak, I will just bore myself to death, or at least fall into a deep sleep. My other take on this tale is that I am really the youngest brother, the one who didn't get the full coat, the one whose arm is that of a swan. That's why my right arm is crooked. It's not crooked because of a birth injury. It's still under a spell and has remained a swan's wing. This makes a lot of sense to me, since I've certainly run into a lot of wicked stepmothers and stepfathers in my life who have been very free with their spells. There are good things about this too. The arm doesn't hurt, and it reminds me of who I am, part swan, part princess. The one thing I do know is that I like living this half-life, this between life, the one in which when you close your eyes and look away, everything is different, the one where real living is done in sleep, the one where animals can talk and you can be greeted by the gods of the house when you come home. First poem is Latin for the Motorman's Daughter. I have fallen in love with Latin again, Latin words, miserere nobis, Deo gratias, annus Dei, pax vobiscum. I studied Latin in high school. It was supposed to be good for me, a classical education, appropriate for the motorman's daughter, who knew all the stops on the IRT and rode the dinky to school. The teacher talked of declining verbs. Decline, what does that mean? Present indicative. I'd like to decline you touching my breast. Subjunctive. I would rather you take your hand out of my pants. Pluperfect. It would have been pluperfect if you'd gotten the hell out of here. I memorized it all. Amo, amas, amat. All her words had different meanings to me. Who loves me? Does he love me? Does anyone love me? There was no perfect in my life, much less pluperfect. I wasn't loved. I hadn't been loved. I would not ever have been loved. I learned it all. I learned to decline verbs and roll myself into a ball when someone touched me. I learned the indicative of touch, the perfect of grope, the subjunctive of fondle, the pluperfect of stroke, all in Latin, perfect for the motorman's daughter. Thank you. It's called The House of Secrets. My father, the big red giant, never heard anything. Secrets buzzed around him like drunken wasps. He went to work wearing his engineer's cap and carrying a lunch pail, came home, wrapped himself in a brown army blanket, sat on a gray chair in the living room, and prayed. My house was a house of secrets, thick secrets like banners hanging from the piano, dumped across the kitchen table, displayed in front of our house like a gold star mother's flag. If you listened, you could hear them. They came over our Stromberg-Carlson radio, through the static when my father tried to tune it. You could hear them in the crack of my mother's voice when she tried to sing. If you'd bothered to ask my cat Tiger or my dog Jeep, they'd tell you, because they knew everything. One day, Rachel, my older sister, left the house early to go to Jersey City for a school project, she said. She came home late in the day, all doubled over. She went to bed with the flu and skipped school for days. It soured me on Jersey City. She married her boyfriend and had us over for holiday meals. She got drunk and passed out in bed every time. One drink and she became an assassin. She needed no weapons, only her words. We were silent, participating in our own murders. I left the house as soon as I could, leaving the house, the animals, and the secrets. I left and didn't look back, afraid of the banners of secrets and afraid of becoming like Rachel, my big sister, who watched out for me when she could. I knew that it was best for me to get away so far and so fast as I was able, and I never stopped leaving. But last night, in my dream, Rachel was beautiful. I told her she was welcome in my dreams at any time. We could go to Jones Beach and lie on the warm sand and look at the waves crashing on the shore. We could bring a portable radio, Ritz crackers, peanut butter, and Cokes, and listen to Frank and Bing, and argue about who was prettier, Rita Hayworth or Ava Gardner.